What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 244. Let's start the bottom. The first fight is Julio Arce versus Hakeem Dukanwa. And to me, striking-wise, I think these guys are pretty close. Hakeem's probably the better guy overall, but I think they're pretty close. I think wrestling-wise, Hakeem's got a decent takedown defense, but I do think anywhere on the ground, Julio Arce is going to be way better, whether he's on top or on bottom. And this is what I think is going to happen. I think Julio is going to be smart, and I think he's going to mix in takedowns when he needs to. And I think if he's ever on top, I think he's going to win by submission with like a rear naked choke or something. And that's what I see happening. I don't know what round it'll happen, but I think eventually Arce is going to time a good takedown and win by rear naked choke. Next, we got Lyman Good versus Chance Rencounter. And this all depends on if Good can keep it on the feet. I think these guys are both striker wrestlers. I think Good's a little bit better at the striking, and Chance is a little bit better at the wrestling. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I think either Chance is going to be able to get the takedowns and edge out a decision, or I think Lyman Good's going to keep it on the feet and edge out a decision. I think this fight's super close. It kind of just is what you're feeling, and I'm kind of feeling Lyman Good. I think he's going to edge out 2 of the 3 rounds and just win the decision. Next is Jennifer Maia versus Kathleen Kokajin, and these two chicks are pretty similar. They're both technical strikers with good jiu-jitsu. Neither one of them is great with their wrestling. You know what I mean? It's like if it's on the ground, they have good jiu-jitsu, but they're not great at getting it there. To me, Kathleen Kokajin is just a high-volume striker. I feel like she's won some fights that I legitimately don't think she's won. It's really tough because I think overall striking is pretty close, but I think Kathleen is going to do what she usually does and just edge out these really close decisions where you could argue that she probably didn't win. I'm going to go with Maia, but like I said, I won't be surprised if Kathleen wins, even if it looks like she lost, because somehow she wins these close decisions all the time and fights in these really close, like, technical striking fights. So I think it's going to be a close split decision. Again, I'm leaning towards Maia, but like I said, I won't be surprised if Kathleen wins. Next, we got Andrei Arlovski versus Jarizo. Can't say his last name. This is 2 really good strikers going at it. Jarizo's obviously much better. Unfortunately, I like Arlovski. I really want him to win. I'm picking him to win, but realistically, he's not going to. I think Jarizo's just the younger, more accomplished striker. You know, Arlovski's beaten some good strikers in his day, but I just think Jarizo's going to have a big advantage in this fight. You know, if Arlovski could get it to the ground, you never know. I definitely think that's a possibility. He's definitely the better wrestler of the 2. He doesn't use his wrestling all the time, but when he does, he's usually good at getting takedowns, but realistically, like I said, I think this will be a striking fight, and Jarizo's probably going to win, but I'm going to pick Arlovski. I hope he wins. I want him to win. Next, we got Brad Tavares versus Edmen Shahbazyan, and this is another one. I would pick Brad Tavares easily if he hadn't been on such a long layoff, and I'm going to pick him because he's from Hawaii, and I want him to win, but like if you're betting money on this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many of you guys that watch bet on my picks, but realistically, Edmen's probably going to win this one. I just don't want to tell you guys picks where you lose money, you know what I mean? Like, don't bet money on this or probably bet on Edmen, because realistically, he's been fighting more and more. He's 5-0 in the UFC. I think he's 10-0 overall, and he's looked really good. Like I said, if Brad wasn't coming off such a long layoff, then I think these guys would be much closer. They're very similar styles. Edmen's a little bit more explosive. I think Brad's a little bit more technical. Like I said, I'm leaning towards Brad. I think his technique is going to edge him out the rounds, but I don't know with those injuries. And realistically, Edmen's probably going to edge out a decision, but I'm going to pick Brad. I say he wins at least 2 of the 3 rounds, 29-28. Next is Shane Burgos versus Makwan Amirkhani, and I don't know anyone who's picking Makwan Amirkhani. I think this is probably the most lopsided fight on the whole card. I mean, he could potentially submit Burgos, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, Burgos is good off his back. We saw that one time he went to the ground, he got an armbar like that fast. He's definitely the much better striker. I think Amirkhani's, you know, got an advantage in the overall wrestling, but overall grappling, they're probably close at best. You know what I mean? I don't think this fight's going to hit the mat. I don't think Makwan's going to be able to take him down. And if he does, I don't know if he'll be able to control him or submit him. And I think on the feet, Burgos is just going to either outpoint him or light him up and knock him out. So I got Shane Burgos either way by decision or knockout. Next, we got Corey Anderson versus Johnny Walker. And, you know, I get why people are so high on Johnny Walker. He's had 3 really fast knockouts, but my problem is if you look at his record outside the UFC, he was like 12-3, and all of his losses were finishes in like the 2nd round. And it shows. Like his record's like 16 or 17-3 overall, and he has 1 decision win against a guy who, you know, if he wasn't so tired, probably would have won that fight. I feel like Johnny Walker slows down pretty considerably after like the first 3 minutes. He's really like a Rumble Johnson type of fighter. It's like those first few minutes he's super fast and explosive. If you can kind of survive that, you're probably going to win. And I mean, it's entirely possible he can catch Corey Anderson. He's definitely the much better striker of the two. I just feel like if Corey Anderson's able to get him down even once, that's probably going to be the end of the fight. I think that there's more likely of a chance that Corey Anderson's able to take him down and ride him out and then finish him in the second than Johnny Walker catching him with a big shot in the first, 60 seconds. I mean, both are really possible. I really think that's the two ways this fight's going to go, and I'm just leaning towards Corey Anderson's wrestling because, like I said, realistically, the more likely scenario, in my opinion, is he gets the takedown, just tires Walker out, and then finishes him with ground and pound in the second. So that's what I got happening at Corey Anderson. Next is the main card. We got Kevin Lee versus Gregor Gillespie, and to me, Gregor Gillespie is just like Usman and Covington. I don't know why people aren't more high on him. He's never lost. He's never had a close fight other than like one where this guy just came out and fucking went after him, but then gassed really hard because he couldn't keep up with that pace. Other than that, I think he's 6-0 in all dominant wins. Other than that one guy that just went berserk on him for like a round. And even that, it was just a close back and forth round. I think that overall wrestling, Gregor's definitely better. Striking, Kevin Lee's probably a little bit better. And like their overall grappling is probably close. I just think Gregor's got a huge advantage in the overall wrestling game. I think his pace is a lot better too. I think he can really push Kevin Lee hard. I don't know. The first 2 rounds I think will be close, but I think Gregor's eventually going to get Kevin Lee down in the third and win by like rear naked choke. I definitely think Kevin Lee, if he takes anyone down and like mounted on them, he can beat anybody. I've said this before. I do think he has one of the best mounts in MMA. He's phenomenal with his ground and pound from there and like his rear naked chokes and shit like that. If he's able to take down Gillespie, which is possible, but I don't think will happen, he absolutely has a chance of winning, and that's the reason why I'm leaning towards Gregor. I just think that the first 2 rounds will be like this back and forth, really technical wrestling with dirty boxing. And I think Gregor's pace is better and his conditioning is better, and we're going to see in the third he's going to get a 3rd round finish. Next is Derek Lewis versus Blagoy Ivanov, and this is really tough because Derek Lewis has lost 2 in a row. He's been talking about his back a lot more recently. I know he was considering retiring after he lost the title fight, and then he looked okay against JDS, but not amazing. And at this point, I do think Blagoy is the better wrestler overall. Striking, Lewis is better. Like their overall grappling, both guys are pretty good. Blagoy is definitely more technical, but Lewis has a good ability to scramble and create, positions where he's on top or he's back on his feet. My one and only fear is Derek Lewis is back. Like I said, he keeps on talking about it. I do think if he loses this one, he'll probably retire. And I just do think it's his back. I think that he's been talking about it so much. I think that realistically, Blagoy is just going to have the better conditioning too. I think he's going to continuously put it in the clinch and dirty box with Lewis, not give him a lot of space, and then either take him down and grind him out against the fence, and I think he might get like a 3rd round finish with like a submission or a TKO from the top. So I got Blagoy winning by a 3rd round finish. Next is Stephen Thompson versus Vicente Luque, and this fight 100% depends on if Vicente can close the distance and land a big shot, and I don't think he can. I think that, Anthony Pettis just got lucky with that Superman punch. I know he set it up, but that whole fight, the first 9 minutes was all Stephen Thompson. You know what I mean? Most guys can't catch Stephen Thompson. They're not fast enough. He's ranked like 8 or 9 right now, and I feel like other than Vicente catching him with a huge shot, technique for technique, Stephen Thompson's better than most people when it comes to striking. He is catchable. It's just pretty rare. I think that his takedown defense and his overall ability to keep the distance is too good. I just don't think Vicente is going to be able to close the distance and catch him with a big shot or take him down. So I got Stephen Thompson winning all 3 rounds, 10-9. So, 30-27 decision for Stephen Thompson. Next is Kelvin Gastelum versus Darren Till, and this is another fight where it depends entirely on how Darren Till looks at 85. He's never fought 85, at least in the UFC. He might have outside the UFC, but he's definitely a big dude. This is definitely better for his durability. I think that he was cutting way too much fucking weight. He looks like he's putting on a little bit of muscle, which he should. Moving up, you should have put a little bit of muscle on. My one and only fear is he basically has been knocked out twice. I mean, the Tyron Woodley fight, he survived, but he got destroyed up until he got submitted. And then he did get knocked out pretty badly in his last fight. To me, Kelvin Gastelum, he's been submitted once, and other than the Adesanya fight, like the last round, I feel like he's never really taken that bad of a beating in any fight. I mean, it all depends on how well Kelvin's recovered, but I do think Kelvin's more accustomed to fighting at 85 for one, and I do think speed-wise they're pretty close, power-wise they're pretty close. It's just, like I said, I worry about Darren Till's durability just because he's been basically knocked out twice in a row now. I know he got submitted by Tyron Woodley, but like I said, he basically almost got knocked down that fight. I'm leaning towards Kelvin. I'm just more confident in his speed because they have very similar striking styles, but you know, Darren Till's probably a little bit better with his volume and technique overall, but I'm leaning towards Kelvin's speed. I think he's going to win by knockout, probably in the first or second round. Finally, we have Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, and in all honesty, I think Masvidal has a big advantage in this fight. I think he's better at mixing up his strikes. I think his takedown defense is too good for Nate. I think overall grappling, Nate's probably better if he could get it to the ground, but I don't think Masvidal's going to take him down, and I don't think Nate can take Masvidal down. And I think Masvidal's just too fast on the feet. I think his kicks are also really good. He's really good at mixing his strikes. As long as he doesn't straight up box with Nate like how Cowboy did and actually makes it a kickboxing match versus a boxer, I think he's going to dominate this fight. I do think it'll be a fun fight. Maybe. I don't know. It's just so hard to tell because I don't think Nate has the wrestling to, you know, either take him down or push him against the fence. I think Masvidal is too good at escaping against the fence, and you know, his takedown defense is too good for somebody like Nate. You know, if Nate could, like, jump on his back or something like that, then maybe turn into a grappling match, tire him out a little bit. But I've never really seen Masvidal get tired. His one bad thing is just he has a bad habit of not being as active as he should be. But I feel like we've seen in his last few fights, Masvidal has gotten better at fixing that problem. And I think as long as he doesn't do that shit, he should be able to win this fight. I think at least 4 of the 5 rounds, I think Masvidal's going to win a 49-28 decision, 46. I don't think he's going to finish Nate, but I do think his better speed and his better, you know, mix of attack and the fact that I don't think this fight's going to hit the ground, I think it all favors him. So I got Masvidal winning 4 of the 5 rounds by decision. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.